KDWN. Joining me in studio right now is the congressman from the 3rd Congressional District, my congressman, and that would be Dr. Joe Heck. And Doctor, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Alan. It's always good to be in studio with you.
It's great to have you here. And I wanted to hear for an hour, but we got other things going on at 8:30, so we're going to do a quick half hour. We'll take calls at 257-KDWN, 257-5396. I just talked a few moments ago to HUD Secretary Sean Donovan, and the Secretary told me that he agreed with me about some of the issues that not everyone should own a home, obviously, and whatever. They hedging a little bit on the refinancing of principal for people who are underwater and have gone they've gone behind on their debts to their lender, suggesting that me as an example, I'm not behind on my debt at all, never have been, and that I wouldn't want to screw my credit up by getting behind just to get refinancing. But on the other hand, if they're going to refinance principal, which I don't support, if they do, for people who are behind, then what about folks like me and others who are also underwater, who keep up every month? We don't get the same opportunity?
Well, you're right, Alan, and that's the biggest issue that we hear in our district office when people call in with housing casework issues, is that there are several programs out there for people that are underwater and behind, but we hear from the folks saying, but, I don't want to be behind. I'm doing the right thing. I'm making my mortgage payment. I'm staying up on my bills. Yeah, I'd like to refinance my loan at today's lower rates. There's nothing out there for me. And so we get involved then and try to become an honest broker between that individual and their lender to see if we can wicker a deal to try to get them some relief. And so we find now that folks that have fallen behind and have stopped paying their mortgage are living sometimes 1 and 2 years mortgage-free in that home, especially now because the foreclosure process has come to a grinding halt because of Assembly Bill 284 that was passed. And, the banks now are not moving forward with foreclosures as they try to figure out how to complete the paperwork in a proper manner. So, we're seeing a delay in the process, and more people are going to be in their homes without paying their mortgages.
Well, you must, and by the way, the Secretary like this also, and I'm sure you do also. The B of A has initiated this trial program where they're letting people who have had their homes foreclosed by B of A stay in those homes as renters for up to 3 years, trying to regather money to repurchase that home. Obviously, it'll be at a lower market value at the time, but the point is, at least you keep people in there who have the hope of returning to ownership of that home. Hopefully there'll be sense. Well, first of all, there's occupying that home, and second of all, there'll be some hopefully pride in that at home as well, and you're not going to have vacancy problems.
Right, and it's similar to the bill that we introduced, the Second Chance at Home Ownership Act, that allows those people who lost their home because of the foreclosure, they lost their job, couldn't pay their mortgage, lost their home, to get back into a home, so that we start to stabilize neighborhoods, help everybody's property values come back up. And that bill would allow somebody who now has been out of their home for a year but making rent payments, who's shown that they have a job and can make a payment, to get back into a home if they would otherwise qualify, except for the fact that they have that foreclosure or short sale on their credit report. And I think those are the types of programs that we need to look at. How do we keep people that are current in their homes? And that's primarily going through refinancing and getting them into lower monthly payments. But that's what keeps somebody in a home, is that lower monthly payment. And then if they're out of their home, how do we get them back into a home in a prudent manner so that they don't wind up in the same situation to help stabilize our neighborhoods?
But you support the idea of getting people to refinance for their lower interest rates, though.
Yeah, I think you should be able to refinance if whether you're underwater or I don't think there's many people in town that aren't underwater right now. But you should be able to refinance at today's lower interest rates because that'll help lower your monthly payment and help you stay in your home.
Correct.
Keep more money in your pocket, which then you can put back into the economy and help the economy grow as well. So I'm all for getting people refinanced, and we do an awful lot of refinance help through our office. And we also help with mortgage write-downs. We actually just had a mortgage write-down through one lender, reduced the principal by over $150,000 for somebody.
You really kept your nose to the grindstone when it comes to housing and jobs. Neither one of these are sexy issues. I mean, they're not. I mean, they're not guns. It's not, gay marriage. It's not all this stuff that, let's, where the phones all light up. You've focused on those issues for your constituents, which have really been the most important. Housing and jobs, obviously, are the two things that are impacting all of us here, not only in your congressional district, but in the entire state of Nevada right now.
No, without a doubt. And that's the calls that we receive. We break it down into three areas: economy, jobs, and housing. And throughout the rest of the country, people talk about those things as three separate issues. And here in Nevada, they are intimately linked together. We've got to get our economy back on track so that we can create jobs, and people have a job, then they can stay in their home. And so we've tried to attack it from a much more holistic approach, taking those three things as one issue and introducing legislation for each one of those three things to try to move Southern Nevada and America forward.
How did that job fair go, by the way?
It went great. We had over 50 employers there, folks that had jobs to give right away. When we asked people to come, we asked them. We said, "Look, we don't want you to come to just create a resume bank. If you don't have a job open right now and you're not looking for somebody, right, we don't want to give you the spot because we need people who want to hire right now." We had over 50 employers there. I've been getting emails and phone calls from people who went through the job fair saying, "I've got my interview. I've got my second interview. Thank you so much for putting a job fair on." And we're following up with all the employers next week to see hopefully how many people have been hired as a result of that job fair.
All right. Congressman Joe Hegg joining me from the 3rd Congressional District. A very, very responsive congressman, by the way. And I don't say that lightly because I've worked in my life as I've been doing radio with other congressional people in Northern California who are Democrats who are also responsive to their constituents. So it's just, it's a handle I give you because I see what you do and I see what your staff does. And I certainly appreciate it. We'll take some of your calls in a moment at 257-KDW and 257-5396. First, let's check in with Mitch Kelly in the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center.
And the last report, we were talking about a lane, express lane blocked on 15 northbound at Spring Mountain because of a crash. That has been cleared away. Both express lanes open again and traffic flowing much better in that area. This update brought to you by Binion's Gambling Hall. And a little bit better on 15 southbound as well. The backups were extending back to the US 95 connectors, but now the slowdown start as you come out of the Spaghetti Bowl. That'll continue down to Sahara. Still slow, though, in the northwest, 95 southbound from Ann to Craig. New crash on the ramp to go from Craig Road onto 95 southbound as well. Connector ramp traffic to move from 95 onto 15 south continues to be at gridlock status, and you're going to be slow if you continue on 95 southbound through the Spaghetti Bowl as well. Better news, seeing volume getting lighter on both 95 northbound through downtown and on 215 westbound between Eastern and the airport connector. Surface street accidents, the most recent one on the west side, Wallapai at Alta. Leftover injury accidents on the east side, Desert and east of Eastern at McLeod, and in North Las Vegas, Decatur north of Cheyenne. Rediscover good whiskey at Binion's, like the Whiskey Liquor Bar, the first outdoor bar on Fremont Street with a patio. Next to the stage and under the light show, the Whiskey Liquor Bar at Binion's. Good food, good whiskey, good gamble. Next update's at 8:30, and from the KDON 1 Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Mitch Kelly on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Let me remind you that a year ago, January, I had the premium LASIK procedure done by Dr. Richard Rothman at LASIK of Nevada, where, by the way, they have incredible, life-changing LASIK technology. And I can honestly tell you, that I'm seeing better today than I've ever seen without my glasses. If you don't like wearing glasses, I don't blame you. All you have to do is call LASIK of Nevada today. Take advantage of their great special. Call 636-2010. That's 636-2010. Ask for the Allen Stock special. Here's what you get. You get a free call. You get a free consultation. Costs you nothing at all. Now, if you are a candidate for the premium LASIK procedure, which I had done, you'll get 50% off premium LASIK, and you'll get guaranteed financing. Listen, call now and find out what I found out. LASIK is a surprisingly comfortable procedure. Now, the doctors at LASIK of Nevada have done over 50,000 LASIK procedures. And check this out. The FDA agrees that the advanced technology used by LASIK of Nevada is safe and effective for LASIK. So what are you waiting for? Call now and take advantage.
When you've been wronged, the last thing you need is to add insult to injury. You need someone to take off the gloves and fight to the finish. With the Harding Law Firm, if you've been injured, you won't just get money. You'll get even. Case closed. Harding Law Firm. Experienced counsel is just a phone call away. 333-7777. SamHarding.com.
Doing chores around the house doesn't have to be so bad. Just download the iRadio Now app from the iTunes Store and listen to this station on your iPhone, iTouch, or iPad. Can't find the wet tunes? No problem. Just put your iPhone on the counter and turn it up. Listen to this station while you shower with the iRadio Now app from the iTunes Store. Download it today and get clean tomorrow.
Your voice is heard on News Talk 720 KDWN. Alan Stock, now on weekdays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
An individual should be allowed to declare his preference in a private vote or be forced to declare his preference in front of others.
The thing that bothers me the most is not only is the union an attempt to intimidate people to vote their way to unionize, they're also intimidating private business owners.
Alan Stock, weekdays 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. only on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Device. Learn more online at onenevada.org today or call
Las Vegas. For the 7th straight year, readers of the Las Vegas Review-Journal have voted Smith's their favorite grocery store in town. So from all of us, thank you for your votes and for shopping at Smith's.
Alan Stock, weekdays 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. only on News Talk 720 KDWN.
All right, coming up in just a little bit, Marita Noon, Executive Director of Energy Makes America Great. We'll tell you all about that in just a little bit. Joining me right now in studio is the Congressman from the 3rd Congressional District, Dr. Joe Heck, and by way of disclosure, he is my congressman. Not my doctor, but he's my congressman. And it's good to have you in studio.
Thanks, Alan.
Let's take, I have a lot of things talked about, but I always promise to share you with the listeners. So let's head on over and do that. 257-KDWN, 257-5396. And let's start out with John. John, good morning. You're on KDON with Dr. Joe Heck.
Good morning, man.
Good morning, John.
Morning, John.
I just wanted to follow up with the congressman. I believe I asked him this question the last time he was on your show, Alan. All the remedies that have been provided by Congress so far are for homeowners to keep them in their homes, to write down the balance of the mortgages and so on and so forth. But, let's face facts. A big chunk of those people, overextended themselves, signed liar loans, and just sort of gamed the system, and now they're recouping some benefits. I saw something recently on the news that, an extraordinarily high percentage of foreclosures have some sort of defect, some sort of problem with it. And, the people that bought these houses at foreclosure didn't sign liar loans, didn't overextend them. They were conservative, and now it looks like they might have some issues and problems. I was wondering if the congressman
They were conservatives. They were conservatives. Conservatives are involved in this. You out of your mind? All right, Congressman.
John, I think you're talking about the folks that bought. Are you talking about the folks that bought the foreclosed home and now find out that there's something wrong with the home after they purchased it?
Exactly. These were people that sat on the sideline, watched the housing bubble, inflate and then collapse, and then stepped in at the end, paid cash for these homes, didn't sign any liar loans, overextend themselves, and now, they're finding out that there's title issues with what they purchased.
You're right, John. That's going to be I think the second wave of issues that we see in this housing crisis. Certainly a lot of folks they become frustrated when they're going through foreclosure and they take it out on their home. They wreck appliances, put holes in walls. We've seen that happen. But then also you see these situations where the title wasn't clean when the person bought the foreclosed home because of the issues with trying to figure out who the actual note holder was during the foreclosure process. And I think that this is going to be the second wave of the housing crisis is now we're going to have folks coming in, buying homes and realizing that there's some type of defect. And I think that's going to be the next issue that we're going to have to face.
Yeah, I think you really need to address it because once that wave starts to hit, the chilling effect on the foreclosure process will be enormous. It'll bring the real estate market to a complete halt.
No, good point, John.
All right, thank you for your call this morning. John joining us right here on KDON. Let's send it over to Dean. Dean, good morning. You're on KDON with Dr. Joe Heck.
Yeah, hi. I heard Mr. Heck say something about he had reduced the principal of somebody $150,000, which is great for them. But what about, I'm almost 65. I've been paying on a house for 30 years. I lost $150,000 to $200,000 in equity that I was going to use for my retirement. There's no buyout for us. where's our buyout?
Dean, what I was just using that as an example of some of the work that we were able to do through our casework section in our office for folks in housing difficulties. And likewise, I would invite you to give us a call if you're having problems with a refi or a write-down.
No, Mr. Heck, I'm not having problems. My house is paid off. I'm saying I lost $150,000 in equity.
Well, and certainly,
see, you're relieving some people. And the people that done everything right, we're the ones getting shafted because we lost all our equity.
Well, I understand that, Dean, and the fact is, unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do to bring back the equity in your house. What we're trying to work on is helping folks try to stay in their homes so that we don't add to the glut of unoccupied homes and decrease property values even further, which will further decrease your equity.
And you're letting them reduce their principal.
Well, let me ask you something, Dean. Hold on a second. What would you like to see happen? I understand what you're saying, sir, but what would you like to see happen? What's your solution for your predicament?
Well, when this first happened, they should have reduced the interest rate for everybody. Everybody that had a loan, they should have reduced this interest rate way down. So everybody,
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. Okay, but I'm asking you, what is your solution to your predicament? What would you like to see happen right now?
Well, that's a big problem. If you give somebody a break, you got to give everybody.
But there's no way for us to be able to recapture your lost equity unless we stabilize the housing market and bring everybody's property values back up. And that's what we're trying to do by keeping people in their homes and getting people back into homes.
I'll never see it. I'll never see my equity again. Never see it.
You may not. You're absolutely right. You may not, and
hey, I got one solution for our economy, and I haven't heard the big oil companies give anything of their quarterly earnings for a long time. These outfits are ripping the American people off so bad.
So you want to start you want to have the tax, you want to tax them a little higher. All right.
No, they should just drop the price of oil down $1 a gallon and give everybody a break. That would get the economy going.
It certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't fight that, my friend. I can guarantee you that. Dean, I want to thank you for your call, and I wish you the very best. 257-KDWN, 257-5396. Carl, good morning. You're on KDON with Dr. Joe Heck, Congressman from the 3rd Congressional District.
Yeah, I saw that 6-hour Frontline documentary about the Wall Street crash and a lot of information. But what baffles me, Obama kept Geithner and Bernanke on, and they were so wrong on housing and this, that, and the other thing, and they let those companies that were doing the credit default swaps and the derivative trading, which had bipartisan support, too, when they deregulated that. But what do you think about Bernanke and Geithner? Why would Obama keep those people on when he could have said, well, those were some of the Bush people that didn't make the right decisions?
Well, I think it's a question that several of us in Washington and back here are asking is, how do you keep people in place that contributed to the difficulties that Americans are facing right now? And, certainly that's at the discretion of the president to pick his cabinet members. But I think that's a question that many people are asking, and we're wondering not just about them, but about many of the other cabinet members like Eric Holder for his handling of certain issues within the Department of Justice.
Well, it's interesting. Bernanke was asked in 2005, and this was under Bush, well, what if the housing market collapses? That's sort of the flat spot in the housing. And he's, it'll never collapse like you're talking about. And they keep that. And Obama could say, well, that's one of the bad people Bush brought in. I'm getting a new guy. And he kept them. It's just baffling to me how these Wall Street people managed to do all this stuff, get the taxpayers to bail them out, and then and they're back, giving out their big bonuses again. I don't know. Did you see that Frontline documentary there on PBS?
I did. I saw parts of it.
Yeah, well, it certainly had a point of view, but the way they cast it, it certainly was bipartisan. You know, people like Phil Gramm, Republican, and people like Clinton and Schumer. But it really makes it look like the taxpayers really.
All right, Carl, I got to run. I appreciate your call. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. 257 KDWN 257-5396. Tom, you're on KDON with Dr. Joe Heck, Congressman from the 3rd.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, sir. A quick question. We've got a very little time.
Okay. With all the things that we're trying to take care of, why do we still not have a budget in Washington, D.C.? I want to know why we don't have a budget for over almost 3 years now. We have no budget. So that means we have no plans for nothing, but we can talk about all these little incidentals like people losing their houses, no jobs, this and that, but we still don't have a budget.
All right, I appreciate your call. I'm going to have you take your answer on the air. By the way, the little incidentals of people losing their houses and no jobs, I'm not sure how much of a little incidental it is. We have very
That's a
little
good
time.
question, Tom, but I think what you have to do is call over to the Senate and ask them why they've refused to pass a budget now in 3 years. April 29th was the 3rd anniversary of 3 years without a budget resolution passing through the Senate. We've passed a budget resolution this year and last year. The democratically controlled House did not pass a budget resolution in 09 and 10, but we've passed resolutions. We've sent them to the Senate, and they failed to take action for the last 3 years.
We would ask the leader of the Senate, Senator Harry Reid, if he was sitting here, why that's the case, why he has not allowed that to happen, but he's not sitting here. So instead, he's preparing for the train to nowhere into Victorville. That's more important to him. Instead of jobs and housing, it's the train to nowhere in Victorville. Think about that. Congressman Dr. Joe Heck, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Alan.
We'll do it again next week.
Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Rep. Joe Heck.
All right. Dr. Joe Heck, Congressman of the 3rd, joining us right here on News Talk 720 KDWN. Marita News.